Hello, it is now fall here in the desert of Phoenix, and I typically use this time now that it's cooler and you actually don't want to melt every time you step out of the house. It's the perfect time to start cleaning up the rose garden, start pruning up some of the roses and cleaning everything up. So I do want to walk you through my garden, just how it looks now after summer, which isn't very good, before I clean it up. And then I'll re-record after I've got everything kind of cleaned up so you can see the before and after. So I will prune back a lot of the burnt summerness, getting the roses ready to rebloom here in the fall, and clean up a bunch of litter. A lot of the monsoon wind will blow in a lot of litter, so I need to clean that up, break that up, and then I do need to train quite a few climbing roses. So I will have videos out on how to do my fall pruning as well as vine training, probably before this even goes up. If you're interested in seeing how I did that, please go check those out. And so I'll do a walkthrough before and after, just so you can see the overall garden and what it looked like. Okay, so this here is my side rose garden, and I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough so you can see how it looks before I get it ready for fall. You can see this guy down here. He's not looking too good. So here you can see these roses have gotten quite large, and I do need to kind of cut them back. That way they get ready for the fall. You can see I've got some blooms on here. The blooms really aren't the best. Like, they're still the summer rose blooms where they're kind of opening single, and they don't stay for the longest period of time, but that's okay because they will shortly. And so what I want to do is I'll clean these guys up to get them ready to have a nice display. You can see here, this vine is out of control. This I'll have to train. Some of my ground cover roses. So there's Doris Day. Doris Day actually Doris Day looks really good for as hot as it got. I really liked that one. You can see here, there's a pink tinge on these. So when it gets very hot, these just go all white. So you know it's starting to cool down. They're starting to get happier when the color comes back. There's my grandiflora. It's starting to put on a lot more blooms again. Down here, again, this is another one that went very white with the heat, and it's starting to get some of the orange color back. Now this one is actually like an orange, almost a true orange, like a sherbet rose. So you can tell it's cooling down, but it's still not the best temperatures for these yet. But that's the perfect time to clean these up. And here I will train this. This is actually really has grown very nice. I just have to get a lot of these canes back onto the trellis. Looking good, has some blooms. Again, not as full and not as big as you would expect them to be. Well, as they will be when it cools all the way down. This back here, this is just kind of a mess. I'm gonna have to do a lot of training and pruning on this. So here's the before, and again, I will go back through and I will show you what the after looks like. This one is, I think it's Eden. So this one needs some pruning and training as well. And this guy here, I'm gonna have a whole video on getting this guy pruned and ready. So that's my side rose garden, and I will get this tidied up, and I will do an after walkthrough. So here is the side rose garden after I've completed all of what I would consider my fall chores. It probably took me over a month. However, that was me probably only putting in like one day, like a Sunday worth of work in the garden. Also, I have a lot of roses, so it took me quite a bit of time. If you only have a handful, 4 or 8, it probably shouldn't take you too long to do what I consider the fall chores. So here is the one that I planted in my how to plant a container rose video. It's still looking pretty good. Still has its first bud, almost ready to open. Ketchup and mustard, it's blooming. You can see it's got a bunch of new buds on it. This is, what is this? Blue girl, blue lady, blue girl. So this one has put on quite a bit of new shoots. It hasn't really bloomed yet. You can see it's putting on buds. The buds are still small, so I expect it'll be a little bit before it blooms, but that's okay. And you can see I mulched. That was one of my fall chores. Also, I pruned all of these. This is a mini rose. I pruned this guy, and it's putting on a bunch of new buds. Those are about ready to bloom. This is Grande Dame. This one grows really big and bushy. So I'm really glad that I pruned this to give it room to fill out like it has. You can see part of my fall chores. I applied iron, so this was kind of before I applied the iron and after. Also, obviously, fertilizing. It's like Saint Swithin or something of that nature. I have pruned this. I pruned this back. It was growing out away from the little chair bench trellis. I've trained it onto the trellis. I trained it here, and you can see here I made it. I had this tall shoot come up, bend at like a 45-90, and you can see it did put on these new shoots growing upward. And same thing with this down, some of these vines down here, so it is filling in pretty good. I don't see any buds on this one yet, but I suspect I will have a bunch on the ends of these new shoots. This little guy is less than a year. It's a Floribunda. It's white. It was blooming, but it bloomed, and now it's ready to bloom again. You can see it's got little buds, so it'll probably be a little bit. This is a mini rose. It's looking really nice. It's got a bunch of blooms on it. Well, buds forming, one bloom. Same thing. I cut these back pretty good. I did trim these just to keep it looking good. And this one is my Oklahoma. It looks good, but I think I need to I may need to fertilize this, put a little more iron down. I did mulch it. I just mulched it today, so I am hoping that the mulch is going to help. This foliage does look a bit better, but I may hit it again with the iron. I trimmed a lot off of this. This is my coral drift rose. And this is very exciting. This one cane here put off all of these clusters of blooms. I really like how these drift roses have such large clusters of blooms, so you can see all of that, and these are probably getting ready to open, so that's exciting. This is another mini rose. I cut or this is like a ground carpet rose. I cut this back a lot. It does have some pretty good new shoots here. One little bud. Hopefully it'll bloom. I haven't really seen this one bloom nicely yet. I planted this one in spring last year, and I think it just, you know, when you first plant it, it's kind of shocking, and then it got pretty hot. So yeah, I probably planted it a little late, so I don't think I ever saw it bloom very well. So when this blooms, we can take a look at it and see if I like it. This is Doris Day. This one is probably one of my favorites. I think it tolerates the heat very well, and you can see it has some blooms blooming, but it has a ton of new buds. This one's about to bloom, and you can see just a ton of buds almost ready to go. So this one will probably be one of the first ones to give off like a full fall showing. This is called Twilight Zone, and in the summer this was blooming very pink, like a bright pink. I had a picture on Instagram of this one, and it looks like a bright pink rose, but you can see it's starting to turn its burgundy color, which is really nice. This one's quite fragrant, and then this also has a lot of buds that are ready to go. This one, I think, like the heat. This one is called Falling in Love. This is another one where I think I need to give it a little bit more iron. I mulched it as well, so hopefully that helps. Some buds on here, buds, so it should hopefully look nice when it blooms. This foliage is looking a bit better. This is another one of these flower blanket roses. This one was my poor little easy does it. Got attacked by bugs. You can see that. The foliage is still not looking the best. This looks a lot better right here, but it's still kind of meh. Looks a little sad. This is looking a lot better. You can see a lot of these are about ready to bloom. Some of these I'm not too sure about. For instance, this looks like, see how small it is, and I think it got some bug damage, so some of these may still not be very good, just because the bugs kind of ate on it. This is another mini one, and this guy I just planted. This was one of the 6 that I planted, along with that one and that one. So this one was I don't remember what they're called, but when they bloom, I will show you how they look when they get their first blooms. I don't see buds on these ones over here yet, so it might be a while, but it is looking nice. We've got a bunch of new foliage, new growth, so happy with them so far. So I did a video on this guy talking about how to prune and train rose vines. This is a David Austin rose. This one's called Bathsheba, and it looks pretty good, especially compared to what it looked like over the summer, that's for sure. So this was part of my fall chores, was to prune this up. This was completely in the middle of the walkway, and then I trained it back onto the trellis. It's looking fairly good. These don't have buds on them yet, but when they do, I will give you an update. This was another climbing rose. This one's not putting on as much new growth as I thought it would. This one actually did fairly well in the summer, but it not really seeing too much new growth on this. It does have this down here, which looks fairly good, but I don't know. I'll have to figure something out. I think the biggest transformation is this back here. I just didn't get to pruning these last spring, summer, right before the summer, and so I just let them go. It's just, and they were they were really out of control. So I've pruned all of these back, and I've trained them up onto their trellises. This one's called Don Juan. I planted this one as a container rose. I did not get this bare root. And so this is brand new. I haven't seen this one bloom. This one is putting on a lot of new growth. You can see here it got bug damage, and then this new growth looks pretty good at the ends. So no bud yet, but it is continuing to grow. This is supposed to be a very big rose, and it might be too big for my little wall, but we'll see. This one's called Joseph's Coat. It's got some new buds forming up here. It's got some new growth happening, so very excited about this. I see a lot of new growth. I just pruned it. These were the last, I think this was the last one that I pruned, so I'm excited to see how it fills in. It's got this cluster. So this one's been bloomed for a while, but that's more or less the color that it'll turn. And then there are a bunch of buds here. So I think this is, I have no idea. I don't know if this is Eden or Pearly Gates. So right now to me it looks like it's Pearly Gates, but then sometimes when it gets cooler it'll start blooming, and I think it looks kind of more like Eden. But basically where my Joseph's Coat is right now over there, I had either Pearly Gates or Eden, and it did not make it, and I don't remember which one was which. So Pearly Gates or Eden, we'll call it Pearly Gates today. I may call it Eden in another time, but that is why. You can see it looks really pretty, very pretty color, very well formed bud. This is one of those ground carpet roses. I was kind of expecting these to put on blooms a bit earlier, but they've been, I don't know, taking their time. I feel like for a ground cover rose they should have a bunch on right now, kind of like my drift rose. All I've got is this little one, and it's kind of spent. Okay, and the last rose over here, this one's Distant Drums. This one I did prune. This was the first one I pruned, and I filmed it. So I pruned it back, and then I was putting on a bunch of new shoots, and I showed you in the update. And then it got a lot of bug damage, so those new shoots didn't really make it. So it's kind of starting from scratch here, but it's fine. I think the new growth is looking really good. We got the bugs basically under control, and it is putting on a lot of new growth, so that is good. However, I'm just gonna have to wait for it to bloom. Okay, so that is the side rose garden. Again, this probably took me like a month, and that's not me working every day. It's probably like once a week, and I do have 8 other roses in the back, so these ones aren't all of them. These are most of my roses. And yeah, I'll just walk through it. I'm really excited for everything to bloom. It's almost there, and I will show you what everything looks like blooming, but I did want to show you kind of the before and after, just so you can see how and why we did some of the things like pruning and such, and vine training. So just wanted to do a status update on what the roses look like now. Some of them are blooming, so they're starting to look pretty good.